Hi everyone, and welcome to this Installer Festival session. Today we're with Damian Walters from the BiKBBI. Hi Damian, how are you?
Very well, thank you. And you?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for joining us. So can you give us a bit about your background and the Institute as well, please?
Absolutely, yeah. So, Damian Walters, Chief Executive of the British Institute of Kitchen, Bedroom and Bathroom Installation. We're a government-sanctioned, not-for-profit institute that's essentially responsible for education, standards and compliance within the domestic kitchen, bedroom and bathroom installation market. We launched in 2006. We've been growing ever since. Just over 6,500 businesses are registered with us, and the majority of those are micro SMEs. So they're predominantly guys in vans. There's a few girls out there, not enough. But these are people that are just delivering home installation services on the front line across the UK. We also work with some fairly big businesses as well. So suppliers, distributors, manufacturers and retailers, people like B&Q, Wren, and from a product point of view, people like Aqualisa Showers is probably one that's, that would resonate with your audience. And we work with them on a corporate basis to essentially help them share their message amongst our audience.
Oh, so what sort of things are you like initiatives and stuff are you working on right now?
Well, it's obviously the main thing that we're working on at the moment, dare I say it, is the supporting our members and the industry through this blooming coronavirus situation that we all face. Of course, in the early days, it was about providing advice and guidance as to what people can and can't do. It then shifted into the financial support available from government and grants and so on. So he was helping our members to get their head around all of that information. And then we've kind of clicked back now into what installers can and can't do, which has been complicated even more by the fact that each devolved country, England, Scotland and Wales, are doing it all a little bit differently.
And even bits of England are doing it differently.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I think the Prime Minister has been under a little bit of, I guess, criticism around this tiered approach. And by the time this airs, that may have even changed by then. But the reality is that it is very complicated for most people. And if you're operating in consumers' homes, then, there's a lot of risk involved in that and potential litigation. And I guess what we're trying to do at the moment is to really support these guys through that. But we're not just focusing on the here and now. I mean, this coronavirus thing will move on at some point. I'm fairly confident of that. Don't know when, but it will do one at some point, and we'll celebrate the day that happens. And so we're looking really at the future and some big things that we're working on at the moment. A protected thing, which I'll come on to you a little bit later, and you've done some great coverage on that previously for us, so thank you. But apprenticeships, we've got a big skills gap here in the UK. And I genuinely believe that apprenticeships is one of the key things that are going to get us out of this mess. So we've been working on the development of a kitchen, bedroom and bathroom installation apprenticeship, which is very different to anything that kind of exists out there at the moment. We've been working with government and key stakeholders to develop that. And we've been operating it probably for a couple of years now. And 2021 is all about growing that and taking that to schools and colleges throughout the rest of England and Wales.
Oh, so it's just you're kind of trying to link up apprentices with some of your own members and stuff like that to try and help kind of a business take on somebody, because this is something that we talk about a lot, but for SMEs it's quite a big step to take on an apprentice. You have to guarantee the work, to guarantee the wage. So they kind of get to a limit of their business and they're like, right, do I take this next step up, or am I kind of happy working with what I've got? So that is quite a challenge. How are you addressing that?
Yeah, I mean, it is a challenge. And I think the problem is with apprenticeships is it comes with a little bit of a stigma from sort of yesteryear, if you like. Apprenticeships didn't used to be fairly popular maybe, but probably not very attractive. It was always seen as being the lowest of the low, really. You get an apprentice in to clean the floor and make your tea. But that's all changed. Modern apprenticeships is very different. So our first challenge really is to educate the market. And it's not just our members. So the apprenticeship is available to anyone. And so, our job really is to get the message of apprenticeships, the difference of the apprenticeship and how people can get involved. But also working with government government and agencies to really try and simplify apprenticeships for the SME, because you're right, a lot of people are just put off because it seems too complicated, too risky, and you know, maybe costly, but that really isn't the case.
Yeah, there's funding available as well, but again, we hear a lot. It's like, well, I know that funding's available, but I don't know how to get at it and stuff like that. So it's just kind of that. Is that kind of your role? Is trying to make it the process is easy for both sides.
Absolutely. So it's like anything really. The Institute's job is to simplify things for people, taking out the most important bits and presenting those, as opposed to chucking them to the lions and, you know, you having to deal with mounds and mounds of paperwork. So if you can imagine the apprenticeship document as being 1,000 pages long, we want to try and get it down to 1 page, and this is the page that you need to read. And that's what we're working on. So simplification of the process and making it easy for people to adopt. And the government have done some great stuff. You know, the Kickstart program that they've just introduced is a really good example of that. It's about simplifying it and, you know, giving employers an opportunity to perhaps try before they buy. So, yeah, so that's what we're here to do.
Let's touch on Protected then, because you just mentioned it then. Yeah, we were just talking before we started recording. I sat in on the virtual press launch that we did that was really good. We've covered it in the magazine. It sounds like a really exciting initiative. So can you explain to people watching this what it is and how they can get involved in things like that?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity again. So, I mean, listen, Protected is something that's come off the back of a lot of experience. I've worked in the industry for the best part of 20 years. I've seen good, bad, ugly. I've seen installers lose money through retail collapse. I've seen installers lose money through consumer unfairness. I've seen consumers lose money because of rogue traders. And I've seen all of that. And the complexity of the law changing, consumer rights coming in that makes it fairly difficult for a trader to trade potentially. And I've seen, you know, what other industries have done essentially to try and combat that. You know, we look at other industries in terms of their development of their offering, we're way behind that. And, you know, an example of that would be, if you wanted to order a pizza these days, you wouldn't get in your car and stand outside a pizza shop while they cook it. You go on your app, you click a couple of buttons, you pay for it using your mobile phone, and it just turns up half an hour later. And that's become the new norm, and consumers kind of expect that. The same way with hailing a taxi cab. You don't wait in the rain anymore. Your app tells you when he's outside, and you know, you pay not via old-fashioned cash, but you do it all online. It's very quick at a touch of a button. So other industries have really worked hard to develop the proposition for the consumer, which has led to consumer expectations being fairly demanding. So what we've done is we've created a digital platform for buyers and sellers, so for installers and their customers. The platform not only puts the two parties together, so a consumer would go on and look to have a project done local to, and have an installer local to them to fill that project. But we don't just do that, but we manage that whole process of installation through, right the way from quoting through to the contracts that we produce on behalf of our installers that are trading standards approved, right the way through to consumers paying for those services and being, you know, in an agreement that is fair for all. But one of the real things that we've done is a game changer, and that's the introduction of an escrow facility for installers. Now, most people won't have really heard about an escrow, but if you bought or sold a house in the past, the likelihood is that your money at some point would have been in an escrow account whilst all the legal stuff was being done. We've produced a very simplified version of that, which installers use through the platform when they're selling their services to consumers. So a customer pays 100% of the installation fee into a third-party managed escrow, which means it's 100% safe both for the consumer and for the installer. And what the installer needs to do is just fulfill the contract, and they will be paid without doubt within 2 hours of them finishing the job. no chasing money, no potential for money to go missing, no consumers, bartering with customers at the end of a job,
Yeah,
quibbling
forgetting
over.
the checkbook and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I'll do it when I get home. The wife's not around. All the usual shenanigans. Nobody likes paying the balance. Let's face it. If we've had a lovely meal, nobody likes to do the hard bit at the end in terms of paying for it. And that can be said around home improvement. So this eliminates all of that. But it also really eliminates a real risk for those businesses that work directly for retailers. So if you work for a retailer and that retailer goes belly up, the likelihood is that you're going to get owed lots of money. And that would never, ever happen in this instance. If you're working with a retailer that uses protected, you are 100% guaranteed of your money without any shadow of a doubt. You would never be in a position, even if the retailer did go belly up halfway through the job, you would be paid for the work that you've undertaken. The customer would be safe, the installer would be safe, and all of that is wrapped up in a digital workflow that helps both parties to meet the requirements and the expectations of consumers these days.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of seen that before, isn't it? When larger firms go bust or they have issues, and then that trickles down, and it's always the SMEs who are kind of the ones who get the money last. So that's especially kind of in the situation we are, where there is like questions around cash flow and all that sort of stuff, and businesses have had to close for a long time and reopen. So that kind of highlights like how important that is, doesn't it?
Listen, I'm very passionate about it. I come from a family. Okay, the business card says Chief Executive of the British Institute, which sounds very grand, but I come from South London. My dad was a builder. My uncle still is a builder. Everybody around me in terms of my family are in the trade somehow, and I went down a different path because I'm not good enough to be a tradesman. So I took the chief executive role on all those years ago. But
it was 50-50, was it? One or the other.
It was never going to be 50-50. As I say, I was never good enough to be a tradesperson. So, I do my bit and I do it pretty well. But I leave the technical stuff down to the people who do it better. But I do, my passion really is for the SME. The way the law is shaped is absolutely disgusting, and it's something that we're lobbying constantly on. If a business goes belly up and you're owed money as an SME, you're the very last person to be paid, and often not paid at all. And I don't think that's right. I think it's very wrong. So you can either rely on government changing that, or you can do something about it yourself. And that's what I've done. I'm championing the government to change through our lobbying, but I've changed it in the meantime. So, installers that are part of this scheme and consumers that are using the scheme are never going to be out of pocket if something goes wrong. And that's something I'm really proud of, actually.
No, it's a really good idea. So how do installers kind of get involved in Protected?
Yeah, well, it's a good question. So first and foremost, part of what Protected is all about, and the Institute, is about separating the good from the bad. One thing that a skills gap creates, and the UK is in the middle of a skills gap at the moment, is it creates gaps for opportunists to come in, cowboys to come in and almost stand shoulder to shoulder to great businesses that have got, really good experience and pedigree in the industry. But a consumer would never know that as 10 companies walk in, 5 or 6 of them could have only been fairly new to market. And a couple of them could even be just out and out rogue. So the first part is about separation. So anybody that wants to join the Protected scheme and use it will need to become a member of the Institute. That does sound like, oh, bloody hell, that could be painful to the pocket, but it really isn't. Joining the Institute can be as little as 20 quid a month. And that money can be rebated through your tax bill at the end of the year. So the reality is it doesn't really cost a lot at all. And the benefits that come with being a member, including the commercial cost savers, actually, it shouldn't cost you anything. You should be financially better off. But one of the byproducts of that is that if you are a member of the Institute and you have gone through that accreditation, you can join the Protected scheme, and there's no cost for that at all. You just, as you're a BiKBBI member, you're automatically part of that. There are no costs whatsoever. There's no sign-up fees. There are no lead fees. There are no commissions. It is just a service that you can use. It's a great service that we've been operating since the beginning of the year. So if you are interested in joining or finding out more information, then do click on to the Protect My Install website, which is www.protectmyinstall.co.uk, and then just click on the installer tab, and everything you'll need to know about the scheme, including registering your interest for more information, can be found on there.
No, perfect. So this installer festival we're doing at the end of the year is to kind of look ahead into 2021 and what we can expect, which is going to be very difficult. So yeah, if you want to get your crystal ball out, where do you kind of see the industry kind of going in the next 2 or 3 months? Where would you like it to go as we go into 2021?
Yeah, listen, I think the most important thing is that change is here, whether we like it or not. Now, change was already on its way, to be honest with you, before coronavirus came, changing laws, consumer perception, all the rest of it. So there was always a need for change. But I guess what coronavirus has done for us this year is given us that kick in the direction that change needs to happen. So there'll be a lot of businesses out there that will be thinking, well, actually, I've come out of lockdown and I'm busier now than I've ever been. So brilliant. But don't. I think we're in a bubble. Don't rest on your laurels, and don't be too. I wouldn't open the champagne just yet. I think the economy, I think people's perception, and I think the UK will face some significant challenges over the next few months and few years, for that matter. So, I think we will recover. I think the home improvement industry will be okay, because I think what we have demonstrated in lockdown is that our homes are more important than perhaps we thought they were once upon a time.
And also things like bathrooms for clean sanitation water, kitchens for cooking your food because you can't go to the restaurants, your heating,
Absolutely.
your plumbing, all of that sort of stuff has really shined a light on how important the industry is.
It has, and we've all got this sort of newfound respect for our homes. I mean, I've spent more time in my home over the last 6 months than I probably have genuinely in the last 20 years, because I always try and get out of it. At the weekend, I want to get out, of an evening, I want to go to the gym, or I want to do whatever, go football. I just don't want to be in the house. The house is somewhere where I lay my head, really, which is bizarre, really, because for most people, it's the biggest expense in their life. It's the biggest thing that they own, yet we try not to spend time in it. It is bizarre. But over the last 6 months, I've spent a lot of time in it, and I think people have found this newfound love for it. And, that's why the home improvement industry seems to be doing okay. And that's perhaps where this false bubble of today has really come from, and that there's been a lot of pent up money. People aren't going on holiday. They haven't been going out to the gym or to the restaurant. So they've got a bit of money to spend, and they think, right, we'll spend it on a new boiler or on a new bathroom, a new kitchen, whatever that may be. But however long that lasts for remains to be seen. So we just need to be quite mindful and respectful of the fact that it might be okay today, but let's plan for perhaps a little bit of a stormy path ahead.
Yeah, so what's your kind of advice that you could give to installers? If you could give a couple of pieces of advice to kind of, like you said, avoid any pitfalls, or to kind of make sure they're in the best position possible.
Don't think whatever you did yesterday will be good enough for tomorrow. One thing that I think tradesmen can be guilty of, and I guess we all can be guilty of it, to be honest with you, is that we're all creatures of habit, aren't we? We tend to do the same thing, just slightly different variations of it. And I think for tradespeople, there'll be a lot of people out there saying, well, I've done this for 20 years. I don't need to do anything different for the next 3 or 4. I'm going to be retiring in a few years' time anyway. Or, for those other businesses that, I've got a solid business. I don't need to do anything different. But coronavirus has changed the game. It's been a catalyst to change that is long overdue anyway. So whatever you did yesterday to win business, whatever you did yesterday in your business transactions with your customers, think about doing it differently. Think about protecting your money. And it's not a shameless plug for Protected. It isn't Protected. It's just one of those options that are available to you. But whatever you do, just don't think that whatever you did yesterday is going to be good enough for tomorrow. So think about how you market your business. Think about how you protect your money. Think about the business transactions and that you're doing it in accordance with the law. And just be mindful that there could be other big factors out there that could really influence your business. And that could be the economy, businesses going belly up around you, consumers, facing redundancy halfway through a project and therefore perhaps reluctant to pay you balances and finding any excuse under the sun not to give you what you're owed. And I think that they're the things that you need to be really mindful of. And yes, Protected and BiKBBI is a solution to that. But there are other things that you can do to make sure that you're protected of all of that.
Yeah, so for like you just said, it's not a shameless plug, but for people who are watching this and want more information about Protected or about the BiKBBI itself, how do they go about doing that? What's the best way to start? What does the process kind of look like?
Yeah, fairly straightforward. So BiKBBI membership is a fairly straightforward one. There's a criteria that installers need to meet around their qualifications, their insurances, and their police record, and all stuff like that. Nothing to get too excited about. We've not set the bar ridiculously high. We understand that there's got to be a starting point in all of this, but we've created a criteria that's very realistic to achieve, that provides some great separation between good businesses and bad. And details of that and costs and everything else you need to include an application can be found on the BiKBBI website, which either go into Google and search for BiKBBI or stick a .org.uk at the end of it, and it will take you through to the page.
We'll put a link on this as well so people can just click straight through.
Absolutely fantastic. And the same can be said around Protected as well. So protectmyinstall.co.uk, and you'll get everything you need to from there as well. Two things that are really there based on challenges that we've seen in the past and solutions for SMEs. I mean, sadly, there are far too many businesses and clubs and associations and bloody badges of accreditation that, I guess the average tradesperson is fed up with paying money and getting no value out. But as an institute, a government sanctioned institute, we are different. We have to behave differently. We're not commercially motivated. There's no shareholders in the business. Most of the board operate on a voluntary basis, me included. We are a very wholesome business that is there to really help businesses to succeed. And, I guess if everything was rosy in the world, there'll be no need for an institute. But because it isn't, and especially during these times of real challenge, institutes really are there to support businesses to succeed. So definitely give it a look. It might not be for you. It's not for everybody. But there are definitely some people out there that will get some great benefit as being part of it.
No, I think that's perfect. So, Damian, thank you very much for your time. And everyone, thanks for watching. And make sure you check it out. We'll put the links everywhere so everyone knows. But thanks a lot, Damian.
Absolute pleasure. And for everybody out there that's watching, good luck. Turbulent few months, few years ahead. But you know what? Stick together and we'll get through it. We will. We'll be talking about this in a pub in hopefully a few months' time, and we'll be able to move on.
Yeah, I can't wait. Cheers, Damian. Thank you.